All right. Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining our session today. We are excited to meet you and are Zooming from Syracuse University and specifically the College of Arts and Sciences and the Maxwell at Syracuse University. So we are a small representative group of a very large group of students here on campus, and we are going to try to answer as many of your questions as we can. If you're looking at the list of participants here, you know that we are far outnumbered by all of you, but we do want to answer your questions as much as we can. So before we kick off today, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Rachel Skipper. I'm the Associate Director of Undergraduate and Graduate Recruitment in the College of Arts and Sciences in the Maxwell School. Some of you may have met with me already. I do see some returning faces and names here, so good to see some of you again, and others good to see you for the first time. I am our virtual recruiter, so you will be seeing more from me online, and I'm excited to meet with you as we go through the recruitment cycle. I want to point out to how you can interact with us. Naturally, there are now 100 and almost 70 of you here. Jumping on mic and being chaotic is not how we want to do this. So please use the Q&A. You'll see a chat bubble with a question mark inside it. Some of you may have to click more and then you'll find that Q&A function. Go ahead and find that now because that's where we'll be asking us questions throughout today's session, and you'll be able to see what other people are asking there as well. I want to kick off because I know not all of you will be visiting campus with just a quick snapshot of what our campus is looking like lately. I was talking to my co-presenters that I just finally changed my slides to a winter scene from a fall scene. I think we are officially there. I think the students and Elena in the room would agree with me. But we would love to see you on campus one day if you can make it. If not, I just wanted to start off with a little bit of a visual to get you kind of in the Syracuse headspace before we go into today's Q&A session. And again, within this session, we are focusing on only 2 schools within the bigger university, Arts and Sciences and Maxwell. So ideally, everyone in this room is ready for a conversation about those schools and what we do for advising. If you are a graduate student, this is not the session for you. This has nothing to do with graduate student advising. It's first year undergraduate student advising. In addition to that, if you are applying to one of the other schools or colleges on campus, the Newhouse School, the Business School, Engineering and Computer Sciences, etc., this session also does not pertain to you. They have totally different advising. So I just want to let you know that now so that half an hour in, I don't get a question like that and then feel badly that we sort of had you on the call for a long time before you realize that. So with that, I want to introduce our co-presenters. Sorry, we have first the director of first year advising, Elena Williams, and then also 2 students who you probably thought were your peers until now you see their names on the call. So Elena, do you want to introduce yourself first? And then students, feel free to take it away after Elena.
Sure. Thank you, Rachel, and welcome everybody. I really love this opportunity to talk to some of our prospective students. Like Rachel said, I'm Elena Williams. I'm the director of first year advising in the College of Arts and Sciences in Maxwell School. It's a lot of words, but what it really means is I oversee a team of 6 other advisors who only work with first year students, which is a pretty unique model. It is the only model on campus that follows this type of advising where we work with our students from May of the summer that they're still in high school, most of them, through May of their freshman year. And we'll talk a little bit more about that throughout the presentation. But I really am excited to see new faces. And I'm hoping that I can answer as many questions as possible about advising in arts and sciences in Maxwell.
Thanks, Elena. And Patrick, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, so I'm Patrick Riley. I'm in Maxwell School, but I also, inside of that, I study history as my major. Interesting about me is that I have a lot of advising experience because I used to be an education major as well. So at a time I had a Maxwell major and an education major, and now that I'm on honors, I also have an honors major. So a lot of advising has happened in my life. I also have sensitive skin, so the weather, it's hidden me.
If you want to sneak some questions for Patrick about what's it like to live in a snow globe in the Q&A, I'll condone it. And then Bianca up next.
Hi, my name is Bianca Uzo. I'm a senior studying biology and psychology. So both my majors are, within the College of Arts and Sciences. I am also, like Patrick said, in the Honors College. So had an honors advisor too, as well as on the pre-health track. So I had a pre-health advisor. Like I said, I'm a senior, so I've now had 4 years of advising experience, and a lot of it. So
So we'll talk about Elena's perspectives on advising, guidance that she wants to share with you, and then also pitch it to Patrick and Bianca to sort of fill in the blanks about what that really means for the student experience throughout today's presentation. So as you ask your questions in the chat, feel free to direct them to me, Elena, Patrick, Bianca, depending on whose experiences are resonating with you the most or whose advice you'd like to hear the most. That's completely fine. And a quick disclaimer, the reason that we have Patrick from Maxwell and Bianca from Arts and Sciences is that the two schools are merged on many levels, and advising is one of those. So regardless of whether you in the audience are an applicant to Arts and Sciences or to Maxwell, you'll have the same opportunities that we talk about today in the session. So don't be concerned about which side of that fence you're on. It's really irrelevant as far as advising is concerned. So we are merged in our advising model. So up first, we have some questions for you, and these are going to work a little bit chronologically. We're going to start with summer and orientation. We're going to go through to your first semester, and then we're going to talk a little bit, if time permits, about advising that extends beyond that first year of school with us. And I'll be pitching some questions to our panel-ish group here, and you all can chime in with your own questions as we go. I'll try to be answering those in the chat and bringing them up when they're relevant with the flow of information we have planned. So, well, with all that out of the way, should I reach out to my advisor? Will they reach out to me? When will that happen? And then also, what will my first interaction with advising look like? So I will leave that one to Elena, who is very much an expert on this topic.
Sure, thank you. I forgot to mention that I am from Tampa, Florida, so the snow globe thing was new to me too. So any students who have questions about living and having your blood conform to the cold weather, I'm always happy to answer those too. Should you reach out to your advisor? The question is, you can always reach out to us, but we pretty much will reach out to you before you probably even think to talk to us. That's kind of how we work. So like I said, May of your graduation year from high school, usually the first week of May, we send a general email that's just welcome to the college. Here are some things that we want you to start thinking about, making sure that you're claiming your account for your email, that you know your SUID, all kinds of housekeeping things. And then by mid-May, you are receiving an email from your assigned advisor. So that person is assigned by academic program that you're in, based on your application to Syracuse University. So by mid-May, you'll know exactly who you should be working with for the remainder of your first year, as long as your major doesn't change during that summer period. The first interaction with us really depends on you. You'll be sent what we call a first year registration survey electronically through Qualtrics in early June from the registrar's office, and that really gives us a lot of information about your academic profile and also your career interests. So you'll hear me tonight talk about my team as academic and career advisors. That's another really unique piece of our role, and at Syracuse University. So I am an academic advisor. I'm also a career advisor. So simultaneously, and from the moment we start talking with you in May, we want to know not just about how we can help you with the X's and O's of your degree program. We want to make sure you're going to graduate in 4 years and you're taking courses towards your major of interest, or if you're undecided, perhaps some exploration. But we also want to focus on that career piece. And for freshmen, a lot of times that means engagement on campus, student organizations, any ways that we can start to understand how that academic profile will map to a future career, but also some co-curricular and experiential learning opportunities on campus as early as freshman year. So it really also, though, depends, like I said, on the student. Some students aren't ready to talk about what they want to do in 4 years or what they want to do next semester when we first meet them in the summer, and that's okay. So we do spend a lot of time trying to really get to know you despite a large class. That is part of the reason why we are split the way we are, with a freshman team and then an upper division team, so that the 7 of us can really get to know our students and make sure that you're starting your time at SU on a really strong foot and gaining that really strong foundation.
Elena, question for you in the chat about how many students does each advisor have? And I don't know if you want to focus this on first year and then differently, major specific, whatever you think is best.
It's pretty standard throughout all of my entire team of 30 some advisors. It's about 200. I have a slightly lower caseload because I'm the director and I do a lot of the other, administrative pieces, but about 200 students, which sounds like a lot, but most advisors across the country, certainly across the university, are at about 500 to 600 students per advisor. And we're at 200 mostly because we know that we value the quality. And like I said, trying to get to know students on a personal and professional level and their families, especially over the summer, it really makes a difference in the experience that you all have. So 200 is about the cap that we keep for each advisor as best we can.
And then Patrick, Bianca, or both, if you want to weigh in, what did your first interactions with advising look like? Or what do you remember about your initial advising processes at Syracuse? Patrick, I know that was an education for you, so maybe you could think about your first Maxwell experiences. But if you have stories or memories that you think would be useful for the group to know about in helping them know what to expect, which is a really big goal for us today. You probably remember how nervous you were coming into all of this. Could you share a story or a memory from that time?
Yeah, I didn't mean to get off topic with the education. Let's stick to Maxwell. So I remember meeting my advisor, and frankly, like with me, these things are confusing. I think students are confused, like meeting things. So it was a process of like learning what to do, and like I don't know what a college class is. Like I don't know how this stuff fits together. But eventually I met more often, and I met when I had to meet. And I really liked my Maxwell advisor in my first semester. And just like getting oriented with that stuff, it was very helpful. So yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, so I remember being very just like daunted. Like it was just, um, I wasn't sure about where to go. I met with my advisor very early on in my first semester freshman year, and just sort of kind of talked to her about how biology as a major, and I, from early on wasn't sure if I was gonna, keep that or change it completely or anything like that. And so my advisor sort of just kind of let me know that it was okay not to have everything figured out at that point. And just sort of worked with me to sort of like take it one day at a time.
Thanks, Bianca. I think you're reading the temperature of the room a little bit. I've already seen a couple questions in the chat about what if I change my mind? And we have questions on that coming up. So first off, what are my first semester courses going to be like? I saw a question about that in the chat already. And what if I'm undecided? So same format. Elena, do you want to kick off with kind of your response to these two? And then, what if I'm undecided? What if I change my mind? Patrick will tag you in on that one.
Okay, what will your first semester courses be like? Everybody in this room, if you're a freshman starting in the fall semester, everybody's schedule will probably look a little bit different. That is the beauty of a degree in the liberal arts, is that there is a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of ability for you to pick and choose what interests you. You will take classes in your major. So we split the registration partly by the advisor and partly by the student. So depending on the major that you apply to Syracuse University for, that is the major that initially we take into consideration when we're looking at placing you into your major coursework. What we do is guarantee that, let's say you are intending to be a psychology major, you've put psychology on your application, that's how you matriculate. We're making sure that you're taking the initial psychology course and the statistics course that every psychology major needs to take their second statistics course in the major. So we're guaranteeing that no matter what, you're starting out on a positive note toward your major. Now, some students say they want to be psychology when they apply, and perhaps by the time we start talking to you, you're like, never mind, I don't want to do psychology. That is completely okay. The point of the summer is to really allow you that flexibility to have conversations with us and perhaps change your mind, change majors, become undecided. The truth is that most students, even if they come in and they know for sure, and Bianca is an example of probably the um, opposite of what we see more of, where students like Bianca come in with a biology major and they don't necessarily know what biology is. Maybe you take your first biology class, you take your first chemistry class, and if you're like me at the University of Florida way back in the day, you say, I really want to be a doctor, but turns out I really don't like chemistry. So most students are changing their mind. So I want to lay that as like the groundwork that it is completely okay, have no idea what you want to major in, even if you have a major on system when you come to Syracuse University. We have a really flexible liberal arts core, kind of like the gen eds that every student has to take. So regardless, whatever courses you take in that first fall, because of the liberal nature of our degree, those courses will count somewhere in that core in those gen ed. So it's going to be a mix, excuse me, a mix of your major coursework and general education liberal arts core courses as we look to develop skills and competencies that'll help you throughout your time at SU. So like I said, please don't worry. If you are undecided from the get-go, we will use that Qualtrics survey I talked about to help understand areas of interest. So maybe if you're thinking you might like psychology, or you might like biology, or you might know that you hate math, then we'll use all of that information to kind of orchestrate a plan with you to really start to explore in that first semester.
Thanks, Elena, for dispelling some of those concerns and myths around being undecided. I want to keep going on that point for just 2 talking points. Some of you may have seen this in the chat already, and I put this there, that 75% of our students graduate with something other than what they began with. That doesn't mean that they totally flip it on its head, but often they're adding a minor, they're adding another major, and sometimes they are in fact flipping it on its head, right? They were international relations and now they want to be a doctor, or the reverse. So a lot of changes happen to the schedule. And another myth about being undecided as a college applicant that I just want to touch on now is that it doesn't make you any less competitive for admission. So as the admissions person here, I want to make sure that you know if you are undecided, that is okay. Undecided students are quieter, but they are very common. So you hear all these students shouting from the rooftops about, I want to be this and I want to be that, and this is what I'm going to major in, because of course they're talking about it. They're excited about it. There are many undecided students in the application process. We see between 20 and 30% of our applicant pool come in undecided every year, and we don't view those applications as any different because most of you are undecided whether you're being honest about it or not. And so it doesn't change anything for us. So don't be concerned about being undecided. It's very normal, especially among liberal arts schools like Syracuse, to see undecided applicants. And then Patrick, as someone who made some big changes, I don't know if you ever felt truly undecided, but as someone who kind of changed their minds about their plan, do you want to chime in about how you felt about navigating a change, right? What you thought you wanted and becoming different and needing to find something new that matched your interests?
Well, yeah, so for me it was a subtraction of sort of narrowing the scape of what I wanted to study. Because I was doing education and history and I got a feel of education and I found that, I was both more interested in history and I learned that there was more I could do with history than I'd done through talking with professors and like building those relationships. I was like, wow, this seems like a viable option for me, and I chose it. And as far as the process, it was not nearly as stressful as I thought it would be. Like really, it amounts to filling out a form, but of course, you want to be careful about like making that decision to fill out that form. And I had many conversations with my education advisor and my Maxwell advisor. But really, at the end of the day, it came down to me saying, hey, I think I want to drop education, and there was no pain about it. They just helped me do it. So yeah.
I'm glad that you felt that you had some support moving through this process. I think that's a fear that a lot of students have, that they'll be floating around out there unsure about what to do. Elena, do you want to share a story maybe about like a student who came to your office and literally said, I've got no idea. I thought I really liked this thing and I don't, or I am here and I've got no idea. Like, how would you guide a student in that position?
Well, we do have resources for students in that situation, like interest inventories that are free that you can take that help both the advisor and the student kind of understand interests mapped to college majors, college minors, co-curricular experiences. But really, sometimes I start with, what do you know you don't want to do? Let's work backwards. Let's talk about what you know you don't like. And most of the time, if you're undecided, it's, I know I don't like math. I know I don't like science. And then we kind of work from there. And use the first semester as a starting point for looking into, hey, I might be interested in political science, but I might also like psychology. And it's really low stakes because no matter what class you take, it's going to count somewhere in your degree. So it's really heavy emphasis on the conversation. I always ask students, what did you do in high school? What did you like in high school? What kind of activities were you involved in? Were you a student athlete? Because that tells me a lot of times about a student. So that's really where that low caseload and that personal touch come into play, because we can get to know you as best we possibly can, to make the most informed decision for you.
Right. So hopefully those of you who may be undecided or worried about changing your mind feel a little bit more secure about this now. If you don't, let us know what your questions are in the chat and we can circle back to this topic if we have time. So up next, I want to talk about that first semester schedule. We have two camps of people who hear about the first semester schedule being created for you. Some people are just like, great, that's just one thing that I don't have to think about now. I'm already stressed. I don't know what to do. Cool. Thank you. Other people are like, hold on, I'm really excited about my first semester or have a lot of ideas about what I want to do. And they're like, wait, you know, what can I do to make changes to it? How can I customize it? Customization is huge for us. It's something you're going to hear about all the time as you go through the admissions and early advising processes. So what do we have in terms of advice for students who want to make changes to the schedule they're assigned for their first semester?
So we have recently, in the last couple of years, and it's been working really well, adjusted that first schedule to be, like I said, a partnership where I'm enrolling you for the major coursework that I know you need. Like I said, Psych 205, Mat 121. You need those to be successful if you're interested in a psychology major. The remaining coursework, and we normally recommend about 5 classes, 15 credits. You get to choose. That's the beauty of it. So we're guaranteeing the part that we know you need as advisors, and then we educate you throughout the summer so that toward the end of the summer, when it's time for you to register yourselves, you have a pretty good idea of the elective courses or the liberal arts core courses that you're interested in taking. You've already had the conversations with us. It's twofold. Yes, you get the experience of going through what we call My Slice, using our platform, searching for classes, registering for classes, because you'll be doing it on your own for the remainder of your time at Syracuse. But it also gives you flexibility. I might love an English class, and some students would rather not ever take an English class, but an English class counts perhaps where a philosophy class or a religion class would also count. So it gives you some autonomy. It gives us some peace of mind knowing that we've put you in the courses that we know you need to progress properly. And the other instance of making changes to your course schedule, I've seen a lot of questions about transfer credit, dual enrollment credit, AP credit, IB credit. All of those things come in throughout the summer at relatively inopportune times. So there are situations where if you get your AP scores at the end of July and we've already built part of your schedule, that we will then have to go back and take into account those courses that we've posted through AP. Same with dual enrollment. Yes, the university has equivalencies posted in our course catalog on our website. In terms of dual enrollment, that May that we say we first talk to you, one of the first things we say is, hey, if you've taken dual enrollment credit, please send us your transcripts, because we will immediately start evaluating them for SU equivalency, and that will really inform how we register you for your major coursework and how we advise you to register yourself for those elective courses.
Very helpful. Thanks for chipping away at that dual enrollment AP IB conundrum. I know a lot of you have questions about it. There's some links now in the chat you can look at. Email me if you have questions. We can talk about it more after this call. One more question for you, Elena, in the chat before we move on. Minors. And I imagine it'll come up more, so I want to address it now. Do we talk to our advisors about minors? Do we declare them over the summer?
So we do talk to advisors about minors. We don't declare them over the summer. That's typically something that, so the minor is what we call a fillable PDF. It's like a conversation with you and the department that the minor is in. So I normally tell students, hey, if you're sure you want to do a biology minor, that is amazing. We'll put you in Bio 121. We'll make sure that you're in the course in the fall. That is the start of that minor. But the actual paperwork is typically not filled out and completed and posted to the student's record until at least the first day of the fall semester. I tell students, let's make sure you like biology before we go through the process of adding it to your record. So normally I have students follow up with me in the middle of the fall semester if they're in that initial class to say, hey, Elena, this is actually the last bio class I want to take, or I definitely want to keep moving forward with this minor. So that's another piece of that Qualtrics survey, is asking about potential minors so that we can use that information to help you with picking your electives, which eventually could become your minor coursework.
Thanks for talking about that. And again, I can talk more with you all about the minors, what minors we offer, etc. After this call, if you have specific questions for me about individual minors, how they pair with individual majors, those kinds of questions. So moving forward, like I said, chronologically here, we want to start talking a bit about what the first semester is like. Patrick got ahead of us because I knew that his interest in switching schools is interesting to some of you. So he's already talked to us about this. But I want to still talk a little bit about making changes deeper into your curriculum, right? So not just right over the summer as you're coming in, but let's say you've chipped away at a program already and now you're learning about a different program, or you want to add majors, you want to add minors, you want to add study abroad, you want to add an internship. We can maybe broaden this conversation a little bit. Elena, I guess to revise, since we've touched on this a bit already, how do you advise students to begin throwing kinks into the plan, right? They now say, I want to study abroad and I've only got a year left on campus, or I need a semester off to do an internship. How, can you talk a little bit about the jigsaw puzzle that is advising? I talk a lot about that in my other sessions. So some people have heard me describe it this way already, that advisors are kind of skilled puppeteers when it comes to the liberal arts core and those kinds of things. And I wonder if you could expand on that, kind of the science of getting it done in 4 years, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it can be challenging, but we never tell a student no right off the bat. So you could tell an advisor in your junior year that you'd like to add sociology as a major, and we will try to make the numbers work. That liberal arts core, that degree in the liberal arts, there's 96 arts and sciences and Maxwell credits that students must earn. And then there's 24 non-arts and sciences credits that a student can earn. So within that 96 is a major, sometimes two majors, a minor, there's general electives, and it all kind of fits together. There's obviously some unique rules as you get older that we as advisors are trained to look out for, but 99% of the time, there is a way to make it all work. We might be putting some courses that were in some buckets into other buckets, especially with study abroad. We are extremely extremely willing to try and make anything work to get you abroad. Most of our abroad sites now, especially even with our STEM majors, we have the Health and Science in Madrid program, where for the first time we're offering organic chemistry abroad in Madrid so that our STEM majors can experience a full semester abroad. So the generous number of arts and sciences and general electives that our degree provides allows you to have that flexibility and allows us to be able to put those pieces together no matter what. I mean, obviously, if you're graduating in May and you come to us in March and say, I want to add a major, that could be tricky, but reasonable. Any student up to the start or the middle of their junior year that wants to add majors, especially definitely minors, we can make it work, because chances are you've taken at least one or two of those classes to know that that is a major or minor of interest.
Really helpful. And Patrick, Bianca, do you want to chime in? Maybe we could start with Bianca here. Like, how did it feel when your schedule started to do this? Get more chaotic, get more customized? Did you feel supported and like you could kind of tag someone in when this was happening?
Yeah, I was actually just going to type in the chat how I am in STEM and studied abroad in Madrid. Because which I was like, I was very unsure if I'd ever be able to study abroad, because I just knew that my major was, like pretty demanding. I also like was in multiple programs, so I just didn't know if I'd have the time. But I went to my advisor with my concerns, and um, she helped me like right away. She was like, okay, well, if we do this, and, sort of immediately started trying to move my schedule around to see how it would work out and fit. Um, so yeah, I would say that, like adding things, and again, I added my psychology major. I didn't come in with it, but I just found new interests, and was really excited about my psychology courses. So I would say that, I guess I would say one of the best things about advising is just like they sort of helps you adapt and like change as you're going through it, and less so more like making a plan and then having to stick with it all 4 years.
And then Patrick,
Yes.
anything you wanted? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think without fail, whenever there's anything with the schedule, if you're thinking about it in your head, you're going to get so stressed out. And I get stressed out every single time if there's any change in the schedule. The most important thing is just to take some deep breaths and like go to your advisor. Remember you have that resource, and then don't sweat about it until you've gone to your advisor. Because without fail, like I've had some crazy situations with my schedule, and still when I went to my advisor, the stress was gone. So you have permission to stress about things, but after you make an appointment with your advisor and you talk about it, because usually you will take some deep breaths, I would say.
Really good advice. Thank you both for chiming in on this. This is something we want our students to experience, right? We want you to be feeling like, look at all these shiny things I can do. And we want you to be crowding your schedule, and we want you to be really pursuing all the opportunities that we on campus have to offer. I like that. I think a parent in the chat said, it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity. How do we fit it in? We want you to have this problem, right? Of feeling like you want to do all these different things. So our advisors are really skilled with working with students who have busy schedules. I have the privilege of working with our student ambassador group. That's how I got Bianca and Patrick on this call. They're both student ambassadors for us, and they're also impressive, right? They've done multiple internships and multiple research projects and 3 majors and studied abroad and all these really cool things, and they make it work. So I feel really confident saying you'll be able to do the things that you want to do, and we'll make sure that you're planning appropriately. And like Patrick and Bianca both said, tag your advisor in for help if and when you feel
Maybe
that.
God has I know you don't believe.
Okay, next slide. What is it like to take college classes for the first time? This is one where I would like to talk to Patrick and Bianca about the student experience specifically. I know we've been doing that a little bit so far, but I wanted a dedicated slide to hear from our students. And specifically, how has college been different than what you experienced before? Maybe Bianca, we could start with you. Do you remember being surprised by anything, the transition? And do you have advice for students who are trying to do their best to be prepared for the unknown of college?
Yeah. So I will say that I was someone who had taken some APs in high school, and I felt pretty prepared. Like coming in, I was nervous about like the increased workload. Um, Coming like once I got here in my first year, it was definitely, I would say that college is obviously higher education is going to be more challenging than high school was, but I would say that all my professors, and honestly, I think just the sort of the way that your schedule is made, I think there's a really smooth transition. At least in most of my courses, I didn't feel like I was, sort of thrown into the deep end and, you know, came in and immediately was like doing graduate level work or anything like that. I would say most of the classes that you're going to be taking, and I would say it's a sort of like a gradual increase um, in workload, as you go through your 4 years. But I would say that I really did feel that, and even like I would say that Syracuse made it really easy to transition. Um, and yeah, and then my advisors also helped with that. Like if when I, went and was, unsure if I was like able to handle the workload, there's also resources that I was like told about, sort of like for big lectures, there's smaller groups to, if you're used to a smaller class size, maybe from high school. That was something that I struggled with a little bit, and there's resources for that as well. So I would say that it's pretty easy to get used to the increase.
Glad you felt that way. Patrick, do you want to chime in? I think I saw a little bit from you in the chat about this, but kind of the transitional period and what you remember about becoming a college student.
Yeah, so I think the major thing with high school is you're coming into a lack of structure, and that can be a good thing. But for someone with ADHD, I really like structure. So I had to kind of learn to make my own structure. So that is a big thing. Not necessarily like classes. Classes were like fine my first year. But getting used to that lack of structure and having to do your stuff and like you're gonna have classes at different times. You might have an 8 a.m. It sucks. You might have an 8 a.m. I had an 8 a.m. You might have a class which is later in the day. You're gonna have to deal with that, but progressively it will get better. Um, but that would be the major thing. As far as workload, when it comes comparing it to high school, it depends. It depends what type of standard you're gonna hold yourself to. It depends on a lot of things, but yeah, I think progressively things have gotten harder, but it was manageable my first year.
Right.
Sorry, also,
Oh,
sorry, I just wanted to say one more thing. I would say sort of to go off of what Patrick was saying, um, you do I would say the biggest change from high school to college is you're the one like holding yourself accountable. And I would say that time management is probably, if I had to give a piece of advice, to work on time management skills would probably be my biggest one, because you'll have a deadline, but you won't have necessarily your professors reminding you or checking in, or where are you, where you're supposed to be, on the way to the deadline. So I would say managing your time and sort of um, like self-regulating and things like that is going to be the best bet to have a smooth transition.
agree. I find that students really kind of have different experiences with this too. Some students, like I felt this way when I started college, I was like feeling hugely relaxed because I could finally make my own schedule and I was going to class at the times that made sense for me. And a lot of our students feel that way. And then other students feel like it's a big ramp up in difficulty. And this changes over the 4 years. So you're really needing to learn about yourselves. What is best for you? What work environments make sense? What circadian rhythms are you on? Are you a night owl or a morning person? You don't actually know that yet because all of your schedule has been decided for you. So that can be a transition. And I really encourage you to just think ahead about who your advisor is, who you plan to ask for help should you find yourself in a stressed out position where you don't know what to do. and think about what you need to do for self-care and for your kind of your personal health, your mental health. There are a lot of resources on our campus that you can turn to if you need assistance with this. If you foresee this in your path, you should foresee this in your path. You're going to get stressed out. It's just not avoidable. Ask me, right? We can talk about support mechanisms on campus. I can talk to you about support groups, counseling, the whole thing. So that's not a conversation for today's call, but I do want to talk to you about it. So send me an email if you have some concerns about this or if you'd like to get a jump on that kind of planning. So we have two-ish more slides, I think, and those are going to be focusing on advising past the first year. I do feel like some of these questions we've been talking about a little bit already. Maybe you feel like experts now and you kind of know what our answers might be to some of these questions. I've also seen related topics in the chat. But I want to pitch these anyway and just make sure you kind of can think ahead about beyond that first semester. So Elena, back to you. Will I work with an advisor every time I make a class schedule? And I'd like to be able to make my own, but what happens when I need help doing that?
Yeah. I just like to plug the mental health piece. I know we're not focusing on it, but it is a huge piece of the college experience. I am a mom to 3 very little children. So if the parents are out here listening, we operate from the holistic care. So yes, you can work with us every single semester to make your new class schedule. You will be enrolling, the student, or your student will be enrolling themselves in classes each semester beyond that first semester. But I train the advisors and we operate off of our students are more than their class schedules, they're more than their careers. So we are very often referring students to places on campus to help with mental health, Center for Disability Resources, you name it. So I want you all to feel confident and comfortable that if you know no one else on this campus, you will know who your advisor is by mid-May, and we would be happy to be that frontline person, whether we can answer the question or not, getting you to who can on the SU campus. And that's a really long way of saying, we don't require you meet with us every single semester to prep for classes for your schedule, but we will end up talking to you, especially in this fall semester. We just got done with registration for the spring semester a couple of weeks ago. The freshman advisors go into a class every fall to give the first year students more information about registration because it's a very different experience when it's all you and you don't have that initial summer to get prepared. So we really make an effort to have that first full registration experience be a positive one. You will make your own schedule, whether you like it or not. But we will always, always, always be available to help and are often seeing a large influx in emails, a large influx in appointments, to make sure that you as a student are supported during the course registration period.
Elena, I want to go ahead and ask you a question that's in the chat before I pivot to Patrick and Bianca on this. And I like this question. You're going to like it too. What's a question you wish more first year students ask you?
Gosh. A question I wish they asked me. I wish they were more vulnerable and willing to accept help. I wish that you knew that we are not judging you, that I literally look at my students as if I think to myself, if that was my daughter or son sitting in front of an advisor, how would I want someone to treat them? And I would love for you all to ask us for help more. We try our best to anticipate it, and there's ways that we can see if things are going wrong academically. But unless you trust us enough to come to us and tell us what's going on, we often can't help. So I wish students asked more questions about resources for getting help, be it mental health, tutoring, all of the resources on our campus, jobs, internships. You are not alone. You don't need to be alone. You don't need to feel like, especially for my fellow first generation college students, if you don't have family members that you can ask, I just wish students felt more comfortable being vulnerable with maybe some of the shortcomings or insecurities.
It's always funny because I hear how little students talk to their advisors sometimes. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? Because all I get all day, every day is 100 emails from prospective students. I have a very easy time with this. Everybody's in my inbox all day, every day. And then they come to campus and it's like cricket. So bring the energy that you've got for admissions to advising, because all of us want to help you. And I never have to wonder, are students comfortable asking me questions? They are. So bring the same energy to advising. We want to see you raising your hand when you need it. And then Patrick and Bianca, do you want to talk about how you develop your schedules each semester? Do you go to your advisor? Do you do it yourself? Is it a combination? Maybe we could start with you, Bianca.
Yeah, so I did just create my last schedule of college. Very sad. My last registration just passed, and including this one, I have gone to my advisor with my schedule every single time I made one. As I sort of, I think around, well, sophomore year and, freshman year, I would go to my advisor, and ask her sort of what track I needed to be on, what classes would, help fulfill the most categories, which would be best for me to take. And she would really give me a lot of guidance with that. In my, junior years and then senior year, as I've just made my schedule, I sort of definitely took a little bit more. I had more independence with it and more initiative, but still, I went to my advisor and um, almost sort of like got it approved. It was like, "Do you think this is a good idea? What's your, advice on, this?" And sort of just, am I on the right track? And I think at first I wanted, I needed a lot of help from my advisor because I was nervous about, maybe taking like a wrong course and then getting behind on my, what I needed to graduate or something like that. But I think that there's a lot of tools, like aside from even our advisors, like, degree work, like, things like that. I think that the advising offices makes it really like easy for you to sort of know what you need to do. Um, so I always used my advisor and went to her um for to make my schedule, but also I think that um if you don't, it's possible to do it on your own too.
And then Patrick, do you want to chime in about how you design your schedule each semester? Do you do it alone? Who helps you? Is it a combination of the above?
Yeah, so it's definitely a collaborative process. Being like a history major, I also have to meet with my history advisor to like further make up the plans. So like this year, like I met with my history advisor. I figured out what history classes I needed to take. I needed to take one class. And then I looked at the other classes and saw how they fulfilled requirements. And then I went to my Maxwell major and there's this thing, I don't know, I want to overcomplicate things. There's this thing called degree works. And it's basically explaining, it shows your GPA and it shows your fulfillments. I don't know how degree works. My advisor know how it works. I'm getting to know how it works. You just look there. It's actually really simple. I just never tried to understand it. But they will do that and they will explain to you the classes you need to take. So then I took that and then I went to my advisor and then we had more classes. But I made a really bad mistake this semester, which was I literally forgot to register for classes. I'm a very forgetful person, and this was a big mistake. And I had an emergency meeting with my advisor. So my planning out of classes was a bit more chaotic because my schedule was kind of forged in fire, but I was able to get a good schedule. But yeah, definitely remember to register for classes. Yeah.
I liked when Patrick signed up to do this session. He goes, "Man, this one time I forgot to register for classes and I thought I was in such big trouble. And I went to my advisor and they figured it out." And I'm like, that's exactly the kind of stuff we want to be talking about here. We don't all need to pretend that we're collected and perfect all the time, or that we always know what we're going to do, or that we have this magic solution to how we're going to graduate from college and all the stuff we're going to do from point A to point Z. That's not realistic. So I hope that you feel the kind of safety net that Elena and her staff try to create for our students. Again, provided that you're on board to raise your hand when you need help, and ideally provided that you're working with advising throughout. Okay, I have maybe this is our last question. It's close to our last question. I have a lot of different interests. How can I fit all of those into a 4-year plan? We've talked about this a little bit. Bianca already spoke to this a little bit, and Patrick as well, about, you know, what happens as your schedule gets more crowded. So if you have more questions on this topic, let us know. One that's sitting around in the chat that I wanted to pitch to Elena related to this is, can advisors connect us with alumni or organizations for internship opportunities related to our potential majors? So essentially, I think these two questions go together. What about all the other stuff that Rachel rambles about on Zoom night after night after night that we want our students to all do? Are the advisors involved in those decisions as well?
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy that somebody asked this question, because one of my favorite programs that our office runs, we have a director of alumni and employer engagement. His name is Matt Wheeler. He's fabulous. And we have a program called the Alumni Connections Program that I put in front of our freshmen in their very first fall. And what it is there's about 900 right now SU alum. The power of that SU alum network is insane. It's so valuable. It's so big. And these 900 alumni from all different sectors, all different, you know, jobs and majors when they were at SU, have volunteered their time to talk with students. They know they'll be talking with current SU students, freshmen to seniors. And there's a really quick 30-minute like networking brief that we give you just to make sure that you're prepared to talk to an alumni. Again, low stakes. They're not you know, there to scare you, that they're there to help you and connect with you. And then you fill out a form discussing maybe what you're interested in, what type of alumni you'd like to talk to, what you get to know what their job is. If that is something that resonates with you, then you get matched with that alumni to have a 30-minute Zoom or phone conversation. And sometimes those end up with site visits. Sometimes we're really trying to bolster this program and make it more robust, where it's a little bit more invasive. And sometimes those connections end with internships with those alumni. Or I know that if there's anybody older in the room, it's not what you know, it's who you know. They know someone that perhaps they would connect you with. And it's a really, like I said, low stakes, comfortable way to get into that networking groove. And it supports the idea of the spirit of the liberal arts, where you can be a psychology major and end up working in business. You can be a biology major and end up going to law school the same way you can be an international relations major and end up going to medical school. So you get to hear these really incredible stories from these successful alumni who want to give back, and it is just the perfect bridge from the academic curriculum to the career and the co-curricular opportunities. It's really incredible and super successful.
I would agree with that. We talk about the power of our alumni network a lot, and like that's a very mysterious thing to say, I feel like. So what Elena is describing is what we mean by that. And if any of you want to talk to our alumni now, I am more than happy to connect you to alums. They want to talk to students more than students want to talk to them. Same thing I just described about advising, right? Students seem reluctant to ask for help sometimes, and alumni are always like, we're here, we want to talk to students. And I'm always trying to find ways to put them in front of students. So regardless of whether you're interested in arts and sciences or Maxwell, you can talk to an alumni if you want, and they are really eager to be able to help. They see themselves in you all. They remember what this was like. Same as our current students like Patrick and Bianca. They're here for a reason. They want to help you. And that's not limited to just alumni. Okay, we kind of went into this already. Some of you have been asking about internships, professional development. That's what we're talking about now. So I don't think that is a big part of today's conversation. I see a question in the Q&A, and I'll just quickly answer it, despite it's not super on topic. Email me. What is something the admissions office looks for when looking at applicants? Leadership ability, being a good influence on the people around you, and likelihood to do that at Syracuse. And of course, intelligence. We want to see strong scores if you have them. If you don't, we want to see strong grades. We want to also see rigorous curricula. So it's not just how strong your curriculum is, it's how hard you pushed yourself academically before you come to campus. But that is an entire conversation, as you know. So email me if you want to talk more about your credentials, how you can strengthen your application, what we're looking for, etc. That's my bread and butter. So I can do it in a whole hour on that alone. So let me know if you have questions about that. I see that we have about 4 minutes remaining. And so I want to close the Q&A, and thank you, Patrick, keyboard warrior, for getting in there in those Q&A questions. I think Patrick answered about as many questions as I did. So thanks for knocking a bunch of those out. I think because of that, we can close the Q&A now. I want to end with one of my questions for all of you, which is if you could leave the students in the room with one piece of advice that they should hang on to from this session, something we've said or otherwise, what do you want them to leave with? We'll start with Patrick, then we'll go to Bianca, and then we'll end with Elena. Or Bianca, do you want to start? I don't know if Patrick heard me.
Yeah, I can start.
I did not hear you. It
Oh.
just said Bianca, and I was confused. It was like Bianca and then who? And then it was like, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't hear you. So, what is the one piece of advice I think would be most important? So, yeah, so just go to your advisor. Definitely go to your advisor. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Let me think if I can think of something more profound. I think it's a very stressful time, and I like all of your questions, and I think everyone should understand that it's a stressful time and to take some deep breaths and to understand that you have these resources and that it's good to ask questions. So, yeah, everyone is having a stressful time with the admissions process, and everyone, like, I can't sugarcoat, everyone's gonna have a stressful time going to college, but take some deep breaths. It's gonna be okay. Yeah.
If I had to give a piece of advice, just, coming into this time, I would say, um, everything about college, every single aspect of it is what you make it and what you put into it. So, like, in the aspect of, like, advising, like, your advisors, sort of like we've been saying this whole time, like, really, really wanna help you and, um, will be, like, there for you as much or as little as you, like, kind of let them. And, similar to I've seen questions about, like, course load or involvement, like, really just you get in or you get out what you put in and, it's sort of really just up to you. So make the most of it.
And then my final piece would honestly just be allow yourself flexibility. Students come into college and they're definitely going to be a doctor or they're definitely going to be in business because maybe dad owns a business company or, everybody in your family was a nurse or, don't be afraid to forge your own way and don't be afraid to be flexible and recognize as early as you can if something is not serving you the way you thought it would and allow yourself to work with us to pivot. Flexibility is absolutely key and just giving yourself that permission to change paths and, really stand for what you enjoy and what you love and what you want to pursue.
My advice is the same as Elena's. From my lived experience as a person that had very much tunnel vision when I was a college student, didn't work with my advisor, and then made big life changes, big career changes years after graduation. I look back and I wish I could do a lot of it again. I wish I'd been more open to new experiences. I wish I had really looked at the value of the liberal arts education that I was getting and used it to take interesting classes that I just felt were fun. And I wish that I had cared more at that time about having fun with what I do for a living, which I'm having fun now, but that wasn't always the case, right? And that was because of decisions I made early on to deny myself that flexibility and that liberty. So I second what Elena said. I love when I see students who are undecided. I love when I see students with multiple interests. I love when I see students who are honest about the fact that they need help. So I hope that that message has been clear for you today, that we encourage you to do all of the above, and that we're going to be here to catch you when you need support. That is Elena's job as much as it is mine. So we are excited to talk to you more. I'm sure I'll be hearing from some of you. I'll be shocked if I don't close out of this Zoom and see some emails in my inbox already. So I will be with you tomorrow. If you did send me an email today, if you send me an email tonight, I welcome you to do that. We will talk more in the future. Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Elena, for being here. I know you're all really busy. Bianca and Patrick, finals, thank you for coming at this time of year. This is a difficult time for you, and I really genuinely appreciate it. And Elena, I know that your busy time is always, so thanks for coming. I know it's tricky to allocate time, but everyone here appreciates it. So with
Thank
that, I'll
you.
leave you with a big orange. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next time. Have a good morning, evening,
Bye.
afternoon, wherever you are.